Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanda Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Chanda Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Ravana Chahare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Tattva. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribol, Haribol, Rebol, Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Acharya Stotra Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananda Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Premsiga Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mayapur Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Prihat Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, ISKCON Ireland Ki, Gaur Premanande, all glories to the Assembly Devotees, all glories to the Assembly Devotees, all glories to the Assembly Devotees, all glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 4. The son of Drona punished. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak prani hite male apashat purusham purnam mayam cha tad apashrayam. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak prani te male Apashat Purusham Purnam Mayam Chata Dapashrayam Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Prani Te Male Apashat Purusham Purnam Mayam Chata Dapashrayam. Bhakti, devotional service. Yogena, by the process of linking up. Manasi, upon the mind. Samyak, perfectly. Pranihite, engaged in and fixed upon. Amale, without any matter. Apasyat, saw. Purusham, the personality of Godhead. Purnam, absolute. Mayam, energy. Cha, also. Tat, his. Apashrayam, under full control. So translation, purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus he fixed his mind perfectly, engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead, along with his external energy, which was under full control. So I just want to say that again. Thus he fixed his mind perfectly, engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead, along with his external energy, which was under full control. Purport. Perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by the linking process of devotional service. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. One can perfectly realize the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, only by the process of devotional service, and one can enter into the kingdom of God by such perfect knowledge. Just read that again. One can perfectly realize the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, only by the process of devotional service, and one can enter into the kingdom of God by such perfect knowledge. Imperfect realization of the absolute by the partial approach of the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma does not permit anyone to enter into the kingdom of God. Sri Narada advised Srila Vyasadeva to become absorbed in transcendental meditation on the personality of Godhead and his activities. Srila Vyasadeva did not take notice of the effulgence of Brahman because that is not absolute vision. The absolute vision is the personality of Godhead, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. In the Upanishads also it is confirmed that Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, is covered by the glowing Hiranmayena Patrena veil of impersonal Brahman. And when that curtain is removed by the mercy of the Lord, the real face of the Absolute is seen. The Absolute is mentioned here as the Purusha, or person. The absolute personality of Godhead is mentioned in so many Vedic literatures and in the Bhagavad Gita. The Purusha is confirmed as the eternal and original person. The absolute personality of Godhead is the perfect person. The Supreme Person has manifold energies, out of which the internal, external, and marginal energies are specifically important. The energy mentioned here is the external energy, as will be clear from the statements of her activities. The internal energy is there along with the absolute person, as the moonlight is there with the moon. The external energy is compared to darkness, because it keeps the living entities in the darkness of ignorance. The word apashrayam suggests that this energy of the Lord is under full control. The internal potency or superior energy is also called Maya, but it is spiritual Maya, or energy exhibited in the absolute realm. When one is under the shelter of this internal potency, the darkness of material ignorance is at once dissipated. And even those who are atmarama, or fixed in trance, take shelter of this Maya, or internal energy. Devotional service, or bhakti yoga, is the function of the internal energy. Thus there is no place for the inferior energy, or material energy, just as there is no place for darkness in the effulgence of spiritual light. Such internal energy is even superior to the spiritual bliss attainable in the conception of impersonal Brahman. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that the impersonal Brahman effulgence is also an emanation from the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The Parama Purusha cannot be anyone except Sri Krishna himself, as will be explained in the later shlokas. Amagana Timirandasya Jana Jana Shavakaya Chakshur Militami. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torchlight. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him, the Maha Maya, Krishna Mastaya, Krishna Mastaya, Gauravani Vichari. So this verse really highlights quite a lot of our philosophy. Vyasadeva is sitting down to meditate on Krishna, as was the instruction given by his spiritual master Narada. So herein we get right into the meditation. Vyasadeva, he actually sees Krishna, but he also sees the material energy beside Krishna. I'm not sure what that vision would be absolutely like. You have Krishna there and you have Maya just sitting beside Krishna. Especially as a living entity kind of struggling in the material world with the material energy and then trying to understand Krishna at the same time. But here's when Vyasadeva sits down, he sees them both together like that. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gets straight into devotional service being the most powerful thing. And we see that constantly in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktyamama Vijnanati Avamyas Tati Tatvataha Nayati Mamati Sorjana. In several sections in the Bhagavad Gita, devotional service is highlighted. In 647, Krishna, after going through all the different types of yoga, then he says that yogi nama besarvesham madgatan antaratma, that the person who is fully absorbed in him is the best yogi. But then in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is after showing the universal form to Arjuna, and Arjuna is after seeing this absolutely incredible vision, seeing all these different all his friends going into the mouths and being crushed between the teeth of the universal form. And he sees all the demigods praying and everybody fleeing in fear of this hugely ghastly almost appearance of the Supreme in the universal form. But then Krishna Arjuna gets so scared that he asks Krishna, please take away this form. It's just too much for me. I'm completely shattered. I'm totally afraid, basically. And then Krishna shows Arjuna the form, his forearm form, and then eventually his two-arm form. And it's very interesting in that section of the Bhagavad Gita how that happens. This is text 51 from in the universal form. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, as we're seeing here, Vyasadeva is seeing Krishna. He said, "O Janardana, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature." So this is the effect of seeing Krishna. It said that seeing Krishna's smiling face, everything is completely resolved. We all know in the material world how it's nice to see someone when they're smiling. But when it's the absolute supreme personality of Godhead smiling, and that's what's considered to be in the Bhagavatam was considered like that, from the feet all the way to the head, and the 10th canto is like Krishna's smiling face. But then Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, text 52, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sadur Darshamidam Rupam Trishtavan Asiyan Mama Devapya Yasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kankshina. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." And he says, "Naham vedate na tapasa na danena na chijaya sakyam evam vido drashtam drishtavan asimam yata." The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. So we're getting closer. And this is devotional service, which is explained, which is Narada has explained to Vyasadeva. And this is what Vyasadeva is meditating on Krishna. This is why he's doing this meditation. Bhaktananyam sakya aham evam vidorjana gyatam drashtam chatatvena paveshtam cha parantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you. and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So that's where we want to get to, the mysteries of understanding Krishna. And then the last verse of this, Mat karna krin mat paramo mat bhakta sangavarjita nirvaira sarvabhuteshu yaksamam eti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activity and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So, Abhigana, Anashaktasya Vishayan, no, sorry. Trying to remember the verse about, it's basically, from Rupa Goswami explains, Anya Bilashita Shunam, Jnana Karma Anavitam, Anukulyena Krishnano Shrilalam Bhaktir Uttama. That one can understand Krishna only by undivided devotional service and free from the purities of mental speculation and fruitive activities. So that's what pure devotional service is. And so then we can enter into the spirit of being just a servant of Krishna. So this whole surrendering process is to get to the point of surrender unto Krishna. So that word surrender is very powerful. But here's one definition, which I listened to. I heard this Sunday, wonderful lecture, where one says, I am yours. You say that to Krishna, I am yours. So therefore all your speculation goes, all your mental activity goes, all your fruitive activities go. You perform devotional service just for Krishna, only for Krishna. I am yours. Dear Krishna, please engage me in your service. That's what the Maha Mantra is like, that's what the Maha Mantra is saying. Please engage me in your devotional service. Please engage me. I don't want to be stuck doing all the things that for my material sense enjoyment. I don't want to do these things anymore. I've been doing this for millions of lifetimes. Finally, I've come to this situation, and now I have the opportunity to say unto Krishna that I am yours. Do with me as you like. Although that is the very highest stage in the 8th stage of the Shikshasana. But still it is, we can actually also experience it from the very beginning as well. Dear Krishna, I am yours, or as in Lord Nrsingadev, we depend completely on Krishna. You know, Krishna, you are my guardian. So Prahlad Maharaj is in that position. He doesn't even have to think about it. He's actually so absorbed in Krishna that Krishna is running after him. That's the way it's considered. Like he's been thrown off mountains, spiked by these horrific demons, trampled under elephants, but he's not even aware of it practically. So he's not aware of the material energy whatsoever. But Krishna's there protecting him. So he's the complete guardian. You know, that's how he that's how we can perform devotional service, and we have to be fearless, even in the face of death. We have to be fearless. Quite a few of our devotees now, they're starting to reach that stage, and we see how fearless they become because they're taking shelter in Krishna, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. You know, they listen to the Shastra, and they take shelter in Krishna despite all the things that are happening to them. I was listening to one devotee, Krishna Anandini, I think is her name, and she was just seeing all the different stages of cancer that she was undergoing as gifts from Krishna. You know, because that's how they're seeing it. These are very advanced devotees to be thinking like that. I know the example from Christianity of Saint Teresa of Lisieux, whereby she was only 23, 24. She stayed all her life in a monastery, and yet she was the patron saint of preaching in the Christian tradition. And basically, when she had TB and she was coughing up blood, and she refers to it in one of her diaries of, oh God, you've sent me some flowers again today. This is some roses, colour red, roses in the blood. So she was thinking like that. So these are the stages of surrender by some of our very advanced devotees. So whatever Krishna is sending us, we should see it as a gift. But if Krishna is sending us some opportunities to perform Krishna consciousness activities or some devotional service, we should be very happy to accept that as well. Happy are the Kshatriyas for whom these fighting opportunities become unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. So Srila Prabhupada has done this in our Krishna consciousness movement. He has opened up the doors for us to preach Krishna consciousness, despite all the odds. Some of the devotees, I was listening to some memories recently, and they were saying that in the 60s and 70s, they were so fired up that they were going to overtake the world. They were performing unbelievable austerities. The Shani was telling me about Malati. When she was there, she was staying. When she went to India, first of all, she was staying in this almost like in a cupboard or in a little room with her baby and sharing it with 3 or 4 other Matajis. And there was no comforts. In a foreign country, probably. What do you call that thing? Having the runs or whatever. New food. But they were completely absorbed in spreading this Krishna consciousness, and Krishna was showering them with so much mercy. I've heard so many times about when the devotees went to Surat, this almost devotee town, and when they went there, the king came out and greeted Prabhupada, and they put Prabhupada on this palanquin, and then they went through the streets. The whole town was stopped, and the police were all allowing the devotees procession, and there was kirtan going on. There was flowers being thrown from all the balconies. It was just an unbelievable experience. So Srila Prabhupada, like that, has opened us so many incredible opportunities to spread Krishna consciousness. But we have to be austere and take those opportunities. It's not actually austerity, it's kind of like bravery. We just have to take it on board. For example, we noticed that during this lockdown that there's not so much material activities anymore, and someone was mentioning recently that all the sense gratificatory activities are being stopped. Well, we know anyway that there's this not so much carbon emissions, and no planes going, or very few, and there's all the rustle and whatever, and it's been explained that I think it's down 17% than normal. So my own experience of it is that I can actually see the nature actually. This is a powerful time for nature. Although she shuts down, but then she opens up, just like the sun during the sunrise. It opens up. The flowers open up like to see the sun. So much beautiful energy, beautiful nature going on. Yet at the same time, we see the dastardly demons, who are absolutely raping and pillaging the planet, with their horrific systems to make money, and have actually engaged the whole planet in their nefarious activities. Remember that even when Hiranyakashipu was the head of the universe, even he was so powerful that even Narada had to pay obeisances to him. So in the same way, similarly, we have been dragged into this material situation ourselves. Everything we do practically is destructive for the planet, just trying to live normally. Whereas again, Srila Prabhupada has set out a system whereby we can actually try to remove ourselves from that particular system, and we should set an example for the world. That's what we're meant to be doing, setting an example how to live simply on this planet. So because there's been such a revelation to people in general how beautiful it is just to live in a more simple way, not to be running around. We were talking last night on the discussion that there is a lot of people now saying that they're never going to go back to the old system. I kind of put just one word of caution that we know that at a graveyard everybody becomes a great philosopher because death is suddenly in front of them. So now that we've got the opportunity of getting some feeling of this lockdown, we may be in the same vein. We may be very philosophical now. But actually, we have to come running out of the stalls, just like, the Nijinsky or whatever, the great horses, just as the stalls open. We have to come powering out because there's an opportunity now given to us to try to readdress the balance. Now, we're under Hiranyakashipu like odds, you know. The material world is going to probably go, sink back into its old situation. But yet there are still some signs there that it may not, and that we have to be there, ready to try to fulfill the words of Srila Prabhupada. It's very, very interesting time. It's a very interesting time because it's in my lifetime anyway. It's the first time that I feel that we've got more opportunity to preach to people, because they've been their whole material world has been put upside down. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of mental problems because people have not experienced this kind of lockdown before. But there's also a lot of people have taken the time to reconnect, and family and so on has been very important. So we as devotees in communities also should take that time also to connect, because community means communicate. I'd recommend devotees to study. There's on Dandavats 2 days ago, our Minister for Communications, Anuttama Prabhu, he was asked to give a talk in New Jersey. There's a whole series of talks. I think our own Karma Prabhu is giving a talk fairly soon on that. But he was asked to give a talk on communications, and it's very, very interesting talk, because Prabhupada wants us to set up communities, but how can we set up communities if we can't communicate? Doesn't that make sense? Like they're coming from the same kind of noun, the same which? Etymology. Same etymology, exactly. Community, commune, like it's this using the same etymology there. Actually, he gave some very interesting examples. You can listen to it yourself, but he was talking about he was in Washington, because that's where he has his base, and he just happened to be going into Capitol Hill where the whiteout is, and there was two protests going on, and he was saying one was pro-Trump and one was anti-Trump, and they were going about shouting their slogans at each other, and one guy's had the megaphone, rah, 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 rah. And he was saying that that's not really the best way to communicate. Trying to find out what the other person is thinking, But that tends to be sometimes how we do communicate, and it's been my experience in devotee communities, right across the world. Our own Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj did a whole survey on that at one time, and he found that also that there are problems in our own communities, and but that one of the most important things is to listen, is to hear what the other person is saying. And generally, sometimes there's communications. One person goes, blah, 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 and the other person goes, and the minute they've finished, and they go, blah, 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 and then they finish, blah, 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 This whole communication is extremely, extremely important. And there's so many ways in which we can confuse things sometimes, even with we might have the best intentions of the world, but the impact we have on another person with what we're saying can achieve exactly the exact opposite result of the intent that we have. So communication, then we have to also be careful with how we communicate. We might be able to, we might say something very strong about something which is important to be done, but the effect on it, the other person is not hearing that. They're hearing, you don't like me. You think you're the best. So these are the truth. These things go on in life, and in communities. And another one of our devotees is he's married to an Irish lady from Newbridge, Braja Bihari. He's employed by the American government in regarding resolving disputes, basically arbitration, all of those things, and that's one of the points that he makes, is that we have to gauge what the other person is saying. Like we may think, we may assume when a person says something, it's got, this is on the other side when we're hearing something. Somebody says something and we may make a whole assumption on what they've said, but it might be totally incorrect. And then we start talking to the other person as though we understand what they are by what we've assumed. So these are all different aspects of communication which are very, very important. And community is, like as I was saying, this is what we're meant to set up communities so that we can give examples to people. But as devotees, we should have the best communities because we have the absolute truth. We should have the best way in how we communicate, even using the words from the Bible and from Srila Prabhupada's words, that your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate to keep this movement together once I've gone. Or in the Bible, Christ would say, people will know who you are by how you behave with each other. Basically, I can't remember the exact quote now. So there's more preaching that's done that way than there is in other ways. And the reason I'm saying this is because we're so tiny. Making in this whole Hiranyakashipu society, we're very, very tiny. But if we can manage to get some community working or functioning, and then when we will attract more people because it is an attractive thing. Tim Prabhu went to a Christian service recently in Dublin, and he was very impressed. It was just outside Dublin actually, and there was hundreds of people came, and they had the Sunday school, and the kids, they seemed very well behaved. They seemed very, very well adjusted. They had their normal Christian ceremonies and whatever, but just the whole thing, the whole energy was impressive. And so our own kids are very important as well. So when we're trying to spread this movement, Krishna consciousness to develop more and more, it really is, it is for our children. So to do that, because so if our communities are able to set up a situation whereby the next generation take things on and become well trained, then that speaks volumes. We have to. Prabhupada wanted us to make ladies and gentlemen. He wanted us to produce ideal devotees. Komara Macharat Pragyo, Prahlad Maharaj, right from the very beginning. I was actually looking at Mangal Arti this morning. Very, very nice to see our Kesh do that, sitting down with the devotees and going to the program. This is ideal training as well for our kids. So this is a whole aspect. And again, I saw two devotees recently coming from different communities, and I was so impressed just by the way that they behave, just by their activity. And Prabhupada even said that. He said that about devotees when they're preaching in India. He says, it doesn't matter that you don't know the language. People are looking at you. They want to see how you're behaving. So I was very impressed. There was one devotee, one child, it was a couple of years ago. He came actually from the Hungarian farm, and he was he's only 12 or 13 or something. But he was speaking to the devotees in it was just a very impressive, his whole presence in how he was speaking. And I was one of the devotee with me, and he was asking him all these questions because he wanted him to speak a bit more, And the child, the guy was quite innocent, but still, it was very, very impressive to see somebody like that. And then myself and Ashani one time we were at the manor it was Janmashtami, and there was like in Janmashtami in the manor there's something like 50,000 people there. And we were coming to the queue to get some prasadam, and then this young lady came over and said, yes, can I help you? What can I do for you? What would you like? And she was serving us, prasadam, I think it was. And the way that she dealt with us, we were just blown over. It was just quite amazing, because it was already all these thousands of people here, and this person then was really looking after us. And who was it? It was the daughter of Vishaka and Yadubar, and she was coming from the community over in Vancouver. And so these kind of things, they really register. They really register with people. So that's why I'm saying at the practical side of devotional life, is very important. So Krishna is explaining about devotional service. And I thought it was a really nice purport and a really nice part at the end of this, that when Krishna was talking about devotional service, that and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. And the purport Prabhupada says, anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all the personalities of Godhead on the Krishna local planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with the Supreme Personality Krishna must take this formula as stated by the Supreme Lord himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, 1155. If you want the essence, 1155. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a book directed to the conditioned souls who are engaged in the material world with the purpose of lording it over nature, and who do not know of the real spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with the Supreme Spiritual Personality, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now here is the verse which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in a spiritual activity, devotional service. I think that's worth repeating again if Prabhupada says that this is the verse which clearly explains it. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activity and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. And then in the purport again, that this is a very important verse that Srila Prabhupada says. And as far as work is concerned, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. So we have to know how to work. So at the end of this lockdown, we have to know how to work, and we have to learn how to work, and work in such a way that we remember only Krishna. So as far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities. And there's a beautiful verse by the Bhakti Rasamrita. And ashaktasya vishayan yataram upayunjate nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchate. And that's in 1-255. No work should be done by any man except in relationship to Krishna. This is called Krishna Karma. One may be engaged in various activities, but one should not be attached to the fruit of a result. The result should be done only for him. And then Krishna goes on and explains how one can give the fruits of one's activities to Krishna. He talks about engaged in business, but to transform. For example, one may be engaged in business, but to transform that activity into Krishna consciousness, one has to do business for Krishna. If Krishna is the proprietor of the business, then Krishna should enjoy the profit of the business. So Prabhupada's not pulling any punches there. If a businessman is in possession of thousands and thousands of dollars, and if he has to offer all of this to Krishna, he can do it. This is work for Krishna. Instead of constructing a big building for a sense gratification, he construct a nice temple for Krishna, and he can install the deity of Krishna and arrange for the deity's service. Anyway, this is a whole section. I won't go further into that. And also, at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also explaining the huge importance of devotional service, because of those verses towards the end. One can understand me as I am only by devotional service, standing before you. This is 1854 and 55. I'm pretty sure they're the verses. I can come on to them again. But let's get back again to the purport here, because Vyasadeva is sitting there and he's looking at Krishna and he's looking at Maya as well. Maya's there too. But we see that Krishna has this effulgence coming from him as well. And he's not distracted by it, because Krishna has this effulgence, this Brahmajyoti effulgence, and he's not seeing it. Vyasadeva is just not seeing it. And again, This is just for reference, because this verse is absolutely packed. And if you think today's verse is packed, tomorrow's is immeasurably packed. This is like all these verses. They're like infinite. You know, there's so many aspects to them. So the veil, unless the veil was removed, Krishna cannot be seen. In the Ishopanishad, chapter verses 15 and 16 is all about the removal of the veil and seeing the material energy and the spiritual energy side by side. That's a whole class in itself. You know, I probably would have preferred to take I did have a week in one sense, but I only looked at the verses from Monday. But that's even a whole class in itself, the whole Ishopanishad, Sri Ishopanishad, how one can see the material energy and the spiritual energy side by side. You know, there's a whole limitless viewing in that. But I couldn't really get into that. So, because also I've only got 5 more minutes left to talk. But there's a whole energy, there's a whole speaking here about the darkness and light. And I just want to take up the purport again, because recently when I went out chanting in the morning there the other day, it was I think it was about 5:30. It's just before 5:20, and suddenly the whole place was teeming with people. Well, not teeming, but there was at least 50 to 100 people out there gathering, and they were out there gathering to see the sun. And I kind of asked one of them, "Why is everybody out here? Because I don't see that many people that time in the morning." And they were saying, "It's darkness to light, darkness to light." And I said, "Oh, darkness to light. Oh, I see." And then, when I went home, I studied it. Actually, it was people who've had a suicide in their families, or somebody they know, or somebody close to them, or in the community, whatever. And it was to try to remember those people that they were out seeing the sun rising, basically, because that's like the material energy. It's the material energy is like darkness. It's the modes of nature, the mode of ignorance covering us, and it means that we just keep on acting in karma, creating karma all the time with this body. So we're trying to get rid of that, obviously, of the material energy. But there's also another Maya, which is the Maha Maya, and Prabhu describes it like it's the moon and the moonshine. Krishna is the moon, and the moonshine is the devotional energy, is Krishna's energy, is the internal energy, and that's who we are as a soul. We're the marginal energy, but we're part of the higher energy. So we're trying to access that and not be stuck in the material energy, in the Maya, in the birth and death and all the activities in birth and death. We're trying to perform activities perform devotional service. That's basically what this verse is explaining. We're trying to actually act in the light and not in the darkness, and we're trying to get as much energy as we can to do that in this lifetime. We're trying to hear from Shastra, hear from Srila Prabhupada, and to take refuge of the devotees. And here it's explained in the purport that Srila Vyasadeva did not take notice of the effulgence of Brahman, because that is not absolute vision. The absolute vision is the personality of Godhead, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Vasudeva Sarvamati Samahatma Sadurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. But yeah, we have to try to get into the airstream of the great souls in order to give actually happiness to people in general. So in the Upanishads also it is confirmed that Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, is covered by the golden, glowing Hiranmaya Patrena veil of impersonal Brahman. And when that curtain is removed by the mercy of the Lord, the real face of the Absolute is seen. So that's why we're, every morning we're seeing Radha Govinda we're doing all these activities for Radha Govinda so that we can see the actual supreme person in that way, and that this is the soothing balm of the whole process of Krishna consciousness that we're bathing in, so that we can get onto that platform of the internal energy, and therefore we can be utilized by Krishna in devotional service, and then we can actually say, we can surrender into Krishna and say, Krishna, I am yours, I am yours. That's what we're saying, I am yours, So the absolute is mentioned here as the Purusha, or the person. The absolute personality of Godhead is mentioned in so many Vedic literatures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the Purusha is confirmed as the eternal and original person. The absolute personality of Godhead is the perfect person. So that when I read that, actually, it really struck that this is Krishna, and this is why the false ego tries to be Krishna, because Krishna is there. We get this. Krishna is there in us as the perfect person, but because we're trying to be that person, we have some little inkling of perfection, but we get lost in the whole mire of Maya, and that's where we don't want to be. So Krishna is the perfect person, and the Supreme Person has manifold energies, out of which the internal, external, and marginal energies are specifically important. The energy mentioned here is the external energy, as will be clear from the statements of her activities. The internal energy is there along with the Absolute Person, as the moonlight is there with the moon. That's such a beautiful description. So beautiful. Krishna is the moon, and then the moonlight is the beautiful radiance of the moon, which is the internal energy that is there with Krishna. It's such a beautiful analogy, but because in this particular section we're talking about the internal and external energy, so he's putting them side by side, just as in the prayer in the Ishopanishad. The external energy is compared to darkness because it keeps the living entities in the darkness of ignorance. Such a contrast, and that's the motto on the front of the Back to Godhead magazine. The devotees want to come to the light. The word apashrayam suggests that this energy of the Lord is under full control. So the material energy is under the control of Krishna. The internal potency or superior energy is also called Maya, but it is spiritual Maya, or energy exhibited in the absolute realm. When one is under the shelter of this internal potency, the darkness of material ignorance is at once dissipated. So all these people going out to see this, the sunlight, and to try, because you can imagine just one little veil of sunlight, suddenly everything is enlightened. And people, in this material world, they can go into very dark places. Any of us can, but we have to always keep the light shining there, and we also have to be the light, the internal energy for people who have lost, those who have lost their vision due to the darkness of this Kali Yuga, shall get light from this Purana. So as aspiring person Bhagavats, we have to somehow or other get together and start dispersing the light. Just the fact that so many of us are speaking now is Krishna's encouraging us all to be able to speak. And although we're maybe 6, 7, 8 people on listening to whoever's speaking now, so if 100 of us are speaking to 6, 7 people, and then they in turn are speaking to so many, that's how this energy spreads, how Krishna spreads. So, and even those who are at Marama or fixed in trance take shelter of this Maya or internal energy. Devotional service or Bhakti Yoga is the function of the internal energy. Thus there is no place for the inferior energy or material energy, just as there is no place for darkness in the effulgence of spiritual life. So, okay, So just to conclude, Vyasadeva's following the instructions of Narada to sit down and meditate on the Supreme, and eventually Vyasadeva is going to write the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're going to take light from that Purana, and we're going to try to maintain ourselves as servants of the Bhagavatam, and whatever situation that we're in, as we could be thrown some very difficult situations from the material point of view, and still see the Krishna in that situation, no matter how difficult. But also Krishna and Srila Prabhupada is providing so many opportunities in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to be bold. We have to become bold to spread this movement, because it's we can see how much Maya has taken root, and how the Hiranyakashipu society is entrenched. But we should be like Prahlad and not be afraid. I was going to give a whole section about Dhruva Maharaj there as well. So we should not be afraid, and we should do everything as best as we can for Krishna. We should be expert for Krishna. We should be expert communicators. We should be expert community builders. We should become expert cultivators. We should be expert speakers. This is what's required, because we need to get to be empowered by Krishna to have this effect in the world. And we can see from what all these books are saying that this is what Krishna wants to do. He wants to bring people back to the spiritual world, and we kind of are trying to become qualified to become part of that. So happy are the Kshatriyas for whom these fighting opportunities come unsought, opening up for them the doors of the heavenly kingdom, which is Goloka Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So, unless there are any comments or any questions.
So could I just make a small point here? That was a nice point you made about community and communication.
Yeah, community and communication. I get that. Sorry. I'd recommend, I'm actually going to put it on one of our links today, that class from Anuttama. Amazing class about how community, how we communicate with each other is very, very important, and how we become expert at that. Finally, the class that was on yesterday was another amazing communicator, Sutapa Prabhu. I mean, I think we all know Sutapa. And just like for fun and for absolute relevance, Sutapa is one of the best sort of communicators of our philosophy that I've seen. And if you want to enjoy it, and if you get an hour today, listen to that class as well, because I know you've all got fantastic people that we're listening to as well anyway, but just highlighting those. But yeah, I'm going to put that, so if you get time to listen to that class about communications from Anantama Prabhu, it'll be very good.
Where will you link it?
It's on Dandavat, so I'll put it on Govinda Dweep Community Development, and I'll put it, we have a thread as well, on an email thread. I'll put that on as well too, because Tim has got something he wants to put on that today as well too. Okay, may you have a wonderful day wherever you are, and be victorious. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna Yata Bhartu Dhanordara. Be victorious in Krishna consciousness, and be victorious in conquering over the enemy, which is, of course, there's none, as Prahlad Maharaj says, there's none more bigger enemy than the mind. Hare Krishna.